The Breath of Void, Secret of Titan Peaks, Episode 1, The Test of Stillness. The summit of Mount Titan is a jagged tooth of rock piercing the clouds. The air is thin, and the sky is a bruised purple. A lone samurai, Ren, sits cross-legged on the very edge of a precipice. His breathing is so slow it is almost invisible. Around him, the wind howls like a wounded beast, tugging at his tattered kimono. Yet, his body remains as rooted as the mountain itself. Suddenly, the sun is eclipsed by a swirling vortex of shadow. Thousands of Abyssal Crows, creatures of pure malice with eyes like burning embers, materialize from the clouds. They let out a deafening metallic shriek and dive toward Ren like a rain of black arrows. Just as the lead crow's beak is inches from his forehead, Ren does not flinch. He doesn't even draw his sword. He simply exhales a single, focused breath. From his solar plexus, a translucent shockwave of pure calm ripples outward. The moment the wave hits the crows, their chaotic energy vanishes. They are not killed, but their malice is neutralized, scattering them into the wind like burnt paper. The lesson. The world will deploy its loudest storms and its darkest shadows to break your focus. But when you are the master of your own stillness, the greatest army is nothing more than a passing breeze. Episode 2, Shadow of the Great Crow. As the thousands of smaller crows scatter, the sky doesn't clear. Instead, the clouds thicken into a swirling obsidian vortex. A shadow larger than a fortress stretches across the mountain peak. Then, with a sonic boom that cracks the surrounding rocks, the great Abyssal Crow descends. Its wingspan is vast enough to swallow the sun, and its feathers are like plates of jagged black armor. The great crow screeches, a sound that vibrates through Ren's bones. It begins to beat its massive wings with rhythmic fury, creating a black cyclone, a localized tornado of dark energy and razor-sharp wind. Rocks are ripped from the ground, and the very air becomes a weapon. Ren opens his eyes. They are not filled with terror, but with a deep, reflective clarity. As the cyclone threatens to pull him into the abyss, Ren stands up slowly. He steps forward into the teeth of the gale. He doesn't struggle. He moves with the wind, not against it. When the great crow dives, aiming its spear-like beak at his heart, Ren performs a void pivot, a movement so fast and fluid he appears to turn into mist. He taps the side of the great crow's head with the tip of his wooden blade. The impact isn't heavy, but the concentrated stillness in the wood short-circuits the beast's rage, causing the cyclone to collapse instantly into a harmless breeze. The lesson. An enemy's rage is a storm that feeds on your resistance. If you offer no resistance, the storm has no power. Be like the air, impossible to strike, yet everywhere at once. Episode 3, The Serpent's Gorge. Leaving the wind-swept peak, Ren descends into the Serpent's Gorge, a narrow, suffocating pass where the stone walls rise so high they seem to touch. The air here is thick with a metallic scent, and the silence is heavy. Suddenly, the ground beneath his feet doesn't just shake, it rolls like a wave. The very earth splits open, revealing scales of burnished gold. From the dark depths of the gorge, the Golden Serpent rises. It is a titan of ancient gold, its body thick enough to crush a palace, and so long it disappears into the mist. Its eyes are like twin suns, blinding and full of predatory intent. The serpent doesn't attack immediately. It coils itself around the canyon walls, trapping Ren in a prison of golden scales. It lets out a low-frequency roar, a sound so deep it makes the lungs vibrate and the mind spiral into panic. Ren feels the pressure. His heart starts to race, and his muscles tense up. This is the primal fear. But instead of drawing his sword in a panic, Ren closes his eyes for a split second. He takes a long, rhythmic breath, drawing the stillness from his center to his limbs. He looks directly into the serpent's massive, glowing eyes. He stands small, but his presence is as vast as the gorge itself. He recognizes the serpent not as a monster, but as the embodiment of his own rising tension. The lesson: when you feel the walls closing in and your heart racing with fear, do not lash out. Breath is your anchor. Look directly at what scares you, and you will find that the monster is only as big as the fear you give it. Episode 4: Dance of the Wooden Blade. The Golden Serpent loses its patience. The narrow gorge vibrates as the Titan uncoils its massive body, its scales scraping against the stone walls with a screeching metallic sound. The predator is ready to strike, its golden eyes locking onto the small, silent figure of Ren. With a crack like thunder, the serpent lunges. Its head moves faster than a speeding arrow. Ren doesn't draw a steel katana. Instead, he pulls a simple, weathered wooden blade from his belt. As the serpent's jaws snap shut where he stood a millisecond ago, Ren is already in the air, light as a feather. He begins a flowing water dance. He doesn't strike the serpent with force. He uses the wooden blade to tap and deflect the serpent's momentum. When the serpent strikes with its heavy tail, Ren runs along the length of its golden body, wall running on scales, his wooden sword trailing sparks of blue light. The serpent grows more frustrated, its attacks becoming wilder and less precise. Ren waits for the void moment, the split second where the serpent exhausts its breath. He strikes a single, precise blow to the serpent's crown. The wooden blade doesn't draw blood. It sends a ripple of absolute stillness through the serpent's spine, causing the Titan to collapse into a peaceful slumber. The lesson: uncontrolled strength is the ultimate weakness. Like a storm that tires itself out, rage eventually leads to exhaustion. Do not meet force with force. Meet it with rhythm and timing. Episode 5: Rise of the Mountain King. The silence following the serpent's slumber is short-lived. A rhythmic thumping begins, not a heartbeat, but the sound of the earth itself being crushed. Massive fissures tear through the valley floor, swallowing ancient trees whole. From the heart of a collapsing cliffside, a Titan of fur and fury rises, the Mountain King. He stands so tall that the clouds wrap around his chest like a scarf, and his eyes burn with the fire of 1,000 suns. The Mountain King is the embodiment of raw, unchecked ego. He looks down at the tiny samurai and lets out a roar that shatters the remaining stone pillars of the gorge. To him, anything that doesn't bow is an insult. He reaches down, tearing a massive chunk of the mountain peak from its foundation and hurls it at Ren. The earth explodes as the boulder hits, sending shrapnel of rock flying like bullets. Ren doesn't run in fear. He stands in the center of the destruction, his wooden blade still at his side. He watches the Mountain King's movements. They are heavy, powerful, but driven by a desperate need to dominate. As the Titan raises his gargantuan fist for a final, world-ending strike, Ren doesn't move. He simply looks up, seeing not a monster to be slain, but a soul trapped in its own pride. The lesson: the ego is like a great ape. It seeks to crush everything to prove its own existence. But the larger the ego, the more fragile it becomes when faced with someone who wants nothing. To defeat a mountain, you do not need to be bigger. You only need to be as unshakable as the truth.